Okay, I started this video once before and I got cut off, so I'm starting over, which is not pleasant. This is something that I've kind of procrastinated in doing. Makes me super uncomfortable because I'm on video, number one. And number two, it's something that I've just kind of kept in my circle and maybe with my husband for some time in fear of what may come of it. So this video is to kind of give you a little bit of background about me, and then to also share why I'm voting for Bill Meyerrose in the general election tomorrow for Decatur County. So I started corrections in 2008. I started in Johnson County, and then I moved over to Hancock County, and then Chris got a job at the Greensburg Police Department. In 2014, we moved to Greensburg, and I started working at the Decatur County Jail as the jail commander. It was kind of one of those things where it was like this hypothetical question that was posed. Hey, your wife has correctional experience. Would she be interested in being the jail commander? And 2014, me thought that was a wonderful idea. I definitely did not have the experience that I needed to be in a position that holds such responsibility. I did that for about 2 years, and I actually stepped down in, I think, 2016, and there was really a lot of things that needed to be built in Decatur County that I was incapable of doing, and the building that was built in 1978 did not have the capability of giving those who were incarcerated what we needed. Not to mention that the budget really didn't support any kind of chain of command, and the sun is moving, so I'm gonna move this a little bit, sorry. There needed to be a rank structure built, absolutely, because I needed more support as a leader. At the time, there was the jail commander, and then there was all the staff. So there really wasn't anybody in between. There was no help, and I couldn't be there 40 hours a week to make sure that things were going right, to make sure that people were doing their job, to make sure that the probably 70, 75 inmates that we had at the time were getting the things that they needed. Like, I would get phone calls in the middle of the night telling me that maybe a toilet was backed up or technology wasn't working properly. And I had to figure out how to make all that work with 2 very small children at the time. I believe that my kids at the time were maybe 5 and 3 when we were here. That was hard. So I talked with my husband, and we made the decision that I should step down. It was a very hard decision to make because you feel like you're a failure. You feel like you're not good enough. It was terrible. It was one of the worst times of my life. But I knew that Sheriff Greg Allen was bringing over Tony Blodgett, and that he was going to be instrumental in helping me build the operational pieces that we needed. So Tony came over. I moved into the assistant jail commander role, and together we kind of worked as mom and dad. So like, there's the good cop, bad cop, there's the mom and dad like kind of approach, and that is how we operated. Tony was the guy who was able to enforce policy and rules with the staff and complete staff discipline if necessary. And I was the mom who took care of like more of the programming aspect, which was very, very minimal at the time because of, like I said, our building that was built in 1978 with no thoughts in rehabilitation. And I also played kind of like the counselor role for the inmates and for the staff. So if a staff member was not receiving information well, or maybe they had a family crisis going on, I was the person that those staff members came to and talked about what was going on in their life and what they needed self-care wise in their life, so that they would continue working at the Decatur County Jail and they wouldn't feel like they had to just move on to another job because this wasn't working out. So if there was any sort of discipline problems within the jail, Tony would do the discipline, and if I was normally a part of that to kind of offset some of that hard time for that person, because nobody likes to be disciplined, right? Like, nobody likes to get a write-up. So whereas Tony would be able to say, hey, this is the problem, this is where you screwed up, this is what we need you to fix. If there was any sort of emotions that came along with that, I was there to say, you know, we know that you're here working your butt off, and we know that you're trying your best to do a good job. We just need a little more. So it was really a good team to make the staff feel like they were in a good working environment. 2018 election came. I have a hard time knowing that I had the wool pulled over my eyes. I voted for Dave Durant. We had a good working relationship at the time when he was a road officer, and I encouraged other people to vote for Dave Durant, and at the time that was the right thing to do. And you guys are just gonna have to deal with these sun rays. I can't get them out of the way. So, maybe I can do something there. Put my arm there. That has been a hard pill for me to swallow. Knowing that I voted for the person who ultimately, just destroyed me and destroyed a lot of my friends. That's really hard. And I have taken a long time to work through that. It has not been an easy thing to do. My mental health was damaged, and I had to figure out how to rebuild and adapt to a new career, kind of. Anyways, so 2008 comes. I am so off. 2018 comes, and Dave Durant gets put in as the sheriff, and I was very excited. Like I said, I had voted for him. We had had a lot of very good conversations. I thought that Dave was going to be a great leader. I believed that when Dave said he was a man of God, that it was very true, and that he was actually a lot like me, because I would say that I am also a person of God. I believe that in 2008, when I started corrections, that I very quickly learned what I wanted to do with my life, and I got into corrections to help people. And I stayed in corrections because I believe that I am instrumental in helping people no longer be addicted to drugs and alcohol, and that I can help them gain a vision for a better life for themselves and for their family and for generations to come. I learned very quickly from 2008 on that corrections was more about punishment and not about rehabilitation, and that kind of broke my heart. I started going to school. After my daughter was born, I received my associate's degree in human services. Come to find out, that's not enough. That is not enough to get you into a position where you can help people. So I started back to school in 2020, who knows? And I started working on 2016. And in June of 2020, I completed my bachelor's degree in addictions counseling. I was so excited that I was finally going to be able to be in a role where I could help people inside the jail in the capacity of running programs. After Tony left, they decided that they were going to hire another jail commander, and I decided to apply for that position. And if I'm being honest and transparent, I applied for that position for all the wrong reasons. I applied for that position because I was scared of who might come in. I was scared that they were going to stop a mission that Tony and I had started to put programs into the jail, and that everything that we had worked so hard for was going to be taken away. So I applied for that position, and rather than getting that position, I was moved into the lieutenant over inmate programs and services position. Came along with a pay raise. I was super excited that Dave Durant and Bob Ray saw in me, Bob Ray was the chief deputy, they saw in me what God was calling me to do, and that was to be able to implement programs and create a therapeutic community of all kinds of inmates, or as I like to call them, residents or patients, could come together, and they all were motivated to do the same thing, and that was to stop using drugs and alcohol and to change their life. That it was exhilarating, that time in my life, because sorry, this is probably why I didn't want to make a video, because I knew that I would cry. A wise person once told me that maybe we're supposed to. I don't have an Android that I can stop my video and stop and get back where I was. So, I was so excited. I created a program called Challenge to Change. I can do this. It was a 40-hour-a-week program. That had multiple levels of treatment in it, from GED, church services coming in, therapeutic yoga, moral recognition therapy, AA, NA, all the programs that include both God and secular for those who may not be ready to think about adding God back into their life. It's not that I don't want them to get to God, I do. But I think sometimes they're not ready for that. And I think that's not the way that we capture everybody. We as leaders are the hands and feet of Jesus. And we are the ones that teach the morals that are taught in the Bible. And that alone is enough to get God's work started. I don't think it's the end. I think that we give them those other pieces that talk about higher powers, and we give them those other pieces that talk about the morals that are directly from the Bible, and we give them the pieces that show them that there are other ways to live their life other than hustling and running and hiding and isolating and not connecting with others. And we teach them that humans are hardwired for connection with others. And the jail takes that away. So inside of this therapeutic community and in this program, I wanted to give them those pieces back. I wanted them to feel loved. I think that all of jail should be this way. I don't think that people... We try to avoid saying all these things because we think that it's a turnoff. But those of us who have been damaged have a right to tell our story without being chastised. And that's not what this has been looking like. I think there are some things that are super petty. I think that there are some things that are really, really wrong about how people are trying to get votes. But you have to think about it from the other side. I don't have people that are voting for Dave Durant calling me and asking me my side of the story, and that hurts. We are all people. We are not prophets. We are humans. And we all understand and we feel things differently. And what I feel from what happened under Dave Durant's administration is hurt. And I think that most people who have left the sheriff's office feel the same thing. They feel hurt. It does not give us the right to hurt other people. It does not give us the right to say things that are not true. It does not give us the right to say things that we believe happened but are not factual. So my goal today was to give you a factual recollection of what happened to me, because that is the only thing that I can speak about. That's it. I cannot speak about things that are hearsay, because how do I know? I don't know. What I do know is that in 2018, when Dave Durant came over, for the first 6 months, it was wonderful. That might be a stretch. Very quickly after that, policies were being enforced that were not acceptable to me. It was not acceptable to me in the latter half of 2018 when I was called to Dave Durant's office, and I was basically guilty by association, and I was yelled at and screamed at, and I cried my eyes out. And during that time, he looked at me and told me that if I could not handle it, that there was a resignation letter in his drawer, and actually there was one for every employee in the department, and that if we couldn't handle it, we could sign it and we could be on our way. That did not sit well with me at all. COVID happened in March, and during that time, I was the only employee that was told to go work from home inside of the jail. From inside of the jail, I was told to work from home every day of the week. How do you work from home and run a jail? I have no idea. I was on the weekly meetings that were required. I did the projects that were asked of me. I participated in creating a new way of a jail list. I worked on commissary and changing how commissary was done. I very quickly became the inmate, or the lieutenant over inmate programs and services, to a commissary manager, making money, which was definitely not what I felt like we needed to be doing. We moved into the new jail March of 2020. I was a part of that project. It was very exciting times. For once, we finally had a classroom that was going to be available for inmates to receive programs. We had 2 blocks that were built, one male and one female block that was built to be therapeutic community blocks. They're open dorms, one for men, one for women, so that they could very easily come to the classroom and receive services for programs. What a great time, until it wasn't. I had built the program Challenge to Change, and I never was able to present it to the sheriff because of COVID. I don't remember him coming to work during that time. Really can't state that for sure, because I wasn't at work at that time, because I was, again, forced to work from home. I believe that I came back to work in maybe May, and everything was different. The staff were not allowed to talk to me. Every time I had a staff member in my office, my phone would ring and I would get asked why they were in there. I do believe that staff need to stay busy, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're talking about 12-hour days. You're talking about people that still have lives outside of jail, that still wanted a little bit of comfort if they had a life situation going on, or if they didn't feel like they were being treated correctly, or if they weren't valued. I think that there's a huge thing for compassionate leadership and what it does for companies. And what it does is it retains staff. If you have compassionate leadership, staff stay. They stay. They work harder, they do better, and they stay. Your retention is better, and retention means experience, and experience means that your practices are being done appropriately. And if your practices are being done appropriately, it takes away the liability. that a jail has, which is huge. So that is why I am so against Dave Durant being back for another 4 years, because compassionate leadership is gone. REC is amazing. I was part of REC when it started. Yes, Dave Durant allowed REC to happen. We didn't have a facility for REC. We made it work. And then COVID happened. So everything slowed down. I love what they're doing right now with MRT. I will never take that away. I love that the REC is continuing, meaning that people are still coming back and they're talking and praying with the inmates even after REC. I love that they are doing GED. That is what that jail was built to do. At the same time, that jail was built to do so much more than what it's doing. REC was not an MRT. All these programs were not to be had inside of recreation. There's a classroom for it. And what's happening in the classroom is that commissary is in the classroom. So we have now taken we've made making money more important than programming. And that bothers me. That should bother you. It was not built to be that way. It can be different. I will say, so the end of my journey at the sheriff's office, it really just came to a halt in August of 2020. And that's because in June of 2020, Quality Correctional Care came and offered a full-time program along with a staff member that they are paying for with grant funding. And this program consisted of MRT and consisted of life skills and one-on-one counseling. Anything else can also be put into that program if the jail has a desire for that. One thing that they ask is that you be agreeable, like that the sheriff's office be agreeable to one form of medically assisted treatment. They're really pushing Vivitrol. Vivitrol is not habit forming. It is not like Suboxone or Methadone at all. It is a monthly injection. And this is only if the person qualifies for it. So I've been working now for this company for 2 years, and I'd say 15-20% of the patients that I have receive the Vivitrol, and I would say more of them should, because of what it is providing. So the goal of Vivitrol is to kind of decrease cravings for opiates and or alcohol and work alongside treatment so that the person has a better chance of staying away from drugs and alcohol. And I mean, it's a win-win. So this program was offered, and I very much so pushed that we take this opportunity. Okay, my phone shut off because it was too hot. So I very much pushed that we take this opportunity. I felt like it was a great way to get the programs off the ground. And what better way to do it in something that we didn't have to pay for. It was an amazing opportunity. I was crushed when the sheriff turned it down. I was devastated. I knew at that point that I couldn't stay there anymore. Between what I felt like was a hostile work environment, and then now we're not even going to offer services that are going to help people get out of the chains of addiction. What was my purpose? At that time, they had already hired the chaplain. I was actually told to report to the part-time chaplain, which was a little strange. I had written a grant with the United Fund so that we could receive money for programming. My goal was to move into a programs position so I could kind of alleviate some of those jail responsibilities that I was no longer wanting to do. And it's not just like Jamie not wanting to work. Like, I didn't want to do those things because I don't feel like that's my purpose. That's not my calling. My calling isn't to make money off of people who are living in poverty. My calling was to serve servant leadership. That's the only way I know how to put it. My calling was to provide services for people that couldn't do it on their own. And when that was taken away from me, I needed to leave. So I reached out to the company that had offered the program, and they hired me with my bachelor's in addictions counseling. Since then, they have encouraged me to pursue my master's. I will complete my master's in social work in April of 2023, and I am looking forward to taking the services that the company offers into Decatur County Jail alongside the services that are already present at Decatur County Jail, working under the administration of Bill Meyerrose. If I get to do that, it will be a blessing. If it's somebody else, I don't care. I do care. That's a lie. I care. I want it to be me. I feel as if I am an asset to our community in a program's position. I feel that I am able to offer a lot that is being kind of passed over right now. I truly just believe that the things that were going on under Dave Durant were very harmful for my mental health, and I have spoke with several people who have also left and were going through the same thing. I talked to people who might still be working there that are going through the same thing, and I feel terrible for them. And I go to a Christian college, and in this college I recently had a class on servant leadership, and it was probably one of my favorite classes. And one of the videos that I watched, it was by John Maxwell, and he talked about one of the most influential proverbs in the Bible about leadership, and it says that he that thinks he is a leader but has no one following him is only taking a walk. And I believe absolutely that leadership starts with serving, and I think that Bill Meyerrose is the man for the job. I'm hopeful that this has made some people think about maybe things that are being swept under the rug at the Decatur County Jail and the Sheriff's Office. You do see a good person if you are a Christian, and you see a sheriff that is voicing that he is a Christian, and then he's allowing Christian programs to go on in his facility. I don't think that there's a problem with that. I think that you see what you are capable of seeing. And I think what bothers me the most is that you're not looking any further. You're not reaching out, and you're not asking the people who have a heart of servant leadership, the people who were giving of their time to make sure that inmates received programming services. You're not reaching out to them, and you're not asking. And I didn't want to feel like I was being the same way and not reaching out to you, which is why I created this video today. Is the video to change your mind on who you're voting for? Absolutely. Ultimately, I believe that God is in control of this election, and I don't have anything to worry about because God knows my heart. God knows Bill Meyerrose's heart. God knows Dave Durant's heart. God knows all of our hearts, and he's paying attention. So even if you're not doing the research, even if you're not reaching out, God is in control, and I believe that we will see amen in the sheriff's office under this next administration. I believe that things will be mending, and things will be getting better, and employees will no longer have to walk around with their tail between their legs because they're being treated poorly. And I'm so excited for that. So vote for Bill Meyerrose tomorrow in the general election in Decatur County. It is absolutely the change that we need. Have a great day.